This is pretty funny. I wanted to hit this with you guys. So Yoenis Cespedes, I think I pronounced that correctly, he didn't show up today. Okay, the Mets are in the process of getting run by the Atlanta Braves, much to my 9-year-old's glee. And I've actually got to talk about this with you guys. I'm not a huge Major League Baseball fan, but my 9-year-old has become such a Braves fan. I grew up a fan of the Cincinnati Reds. Was really excited when they won the 1990 World Series. Used to go to old school Riverfront Stadium, watch the Reds. We were a local here in Nashville where I live. We got local Reds games on our Fox affiliate. So I listened to Marty Brennaman, Joe Nuxall. I mean, I grew up a big fan of that team, watching them play. But then, in all honesty, after the 1994 strike, I was as big of a baseball fan as you can imagine from about the age of 6 to about the age of 15. But then the strike happened, and I stopped caring as much, and I wasn't watching as often. Okay, fast forward to now. My 9-year-old is a huge Braves fan, and I've talked about this a lot on the show. And I'm considering, maybe we need to talk about this later this week when we open up phone calls, because I'm curious what you guys are going to think about this. I'm considering switching my allegiance to the Atlanta Braves because it's more fun now because my 9-year-old is a big Braves fan. It's more fun to be able to watch games and root alongside of him. Now, I realize that means that every October for the rest of my life is going to stink, and I'm not going to be, let's be honest, I'm not going to be getting that impacted by what happens with the Braves. I'm never going to be as big of a fan of them as I am other people. But like a lot of you, when I have a kid, when you have kids, you start watching sports through their eyes again. And I now root for my favorite teams to win. And also their favorite teams to win because I just like to see them happy. So I'm thinking about becoming a Braves fan and abandoning the Reds to the extent that I was really still a Reds fan at all. They were the team I grew up rooting for, but I would sort of basically make myself a disinterested baseball fan. Used to be a huge baseball fan. Back in the day when I was home by myself during the summer, long summer days to fill, I'd watch the Cubs every day on WGN with Harry Carey and Steve Stone. I'd watch the Reds, like I said, on the local Fox affiliate. Good old school WTBS. I'd watch the Braves. I watch baseball all day long. Now, and then I'd stay up for the late game and watch that on, I think it was ESPN back in the day. They'd play the Dodgers or whatever games they'd have on the West Coast. That was one of the great things about being a kid in the summer, if you were a baseball fan, was being able to stay up for them. But now I'm not sure really what direction I'm going to go, but I'm leaning towards just becoming a Braves fan to go with my 9-year-old. Reason why I'm talking about the Braves is because they've been beating the crap out of the New York Mets, and this is a vintage Mets story. I'm sorry if you are a Mets fan to have to bring this up with you, but when Yoenis Cespedes didn't show up today, the Mets sent security to his hotel room. They were concerned about him. They were like, where is this guy? Why is he not here for the game? They found the room empty. He had taken all his belongings and left without letting the Mets know that he was finished with the season. So they sent security to his room. It was empty, and he's now finished for the season. So the Mets, as if things were not going poorly enough already, the Mets were already getting crushed by the Braves, and they have not been playing very well in this series so far. And we're now 10 games into the season, which doesn't seem like it's that many games into the season. But when you start to think about it, when you're only playing 60 games, that's a pretty significant part of the season. And so you start to look at it and say, man, the Mets have not had a very good start to the season. Well, let's look at the numbers. I mean, yeah, it's only 10 games in, but when you have lost another game to the Braves and you're getting run and you've got a big-time player who's not going to play and you're now 3-7, I think this is what's going to happen going forward even more, which is I think if teams start to be bad, because again, only 10 games, yes, but that's the equivalent of playing 30 games, right, roughly? So when the Mets are sitting here at 3-7, it's actually like starting the season something like 9-20, right? And when the Braves are sitting there at 7-3, that's a really great run, but it's actually like being, 20-6 or so through the season when you consider how few games are going to be played. So I think what's going to end up happening here is other baseball players are going to make this decision, they're just going to say peace out. If their team is playing poorly and we're sitting, at 30 games into the season or whatever it is, they're not going to stick around and be like, hey, let's turn this around. We can still win. They're going to say, screw it. Let's bounce. I'll just be ready for next season. I don't want to play this year. I think that's going to be an issue. Now, for the teams that are better and keep rolling, I think they're going to be like, well, we're going to win the World Series. But I think there's going to be a lot of teams that make the decision, hey, we got to just bounce. And who knows exactly what might happen as we go forward and think about what the larger universe of Major League Baseball is going to look like with all the testing failures and everything else. They put the Marlins players on that bus, evidently, right? I think that's true, Dub. That wasn't just a fake. They put the Marlins players on the bus and sent them all the way back down to Miami. I don't know who drove the bus. It's an interesting question. I also don't know why you couldn't have just gotten a private jet and flown them back, and maybe this was partly try to teach them a lesson about what happens when you don't follow the correct protocols and correct rules. But I think this just basically piecing out move, even though it's incredibly, incredibly disrespectful. I mean, think about how disrespectful that is. All you had to do was call your boss and be like, you know what, I'm deciding to opt out. And you could make up an excuse, not the right decision for my family, whatever it is. You don't even notify the team such that they're afraid something might have happened to you, and they go to your hotel room and just find it completely cleaned out. Do you know what a jerk move that is? Literally all you have to do, it's never been easier to communicate with somebody. You can pick up a cell phone and go right to them and be like, hey, I'm sorry. I've decided it's not for me. I'm out. All you had to do was send a text message. All you had to do was pick up the phone and make a single call, and you don't have the basic decency or communication skills to be willing to do that. It's unbelievable. But it probably won't even impact Cespedes. He'll just make more money in the offseason because somebody will look at his talent and they'll say, you know what? He's healthy. He just didn't want to play. And so let's go ahead and give him some money.